Hari Om, everybody. Let's get started. गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आन शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामविद्यवत् ॐ गणेशाय नमः ॐ सरस्वत्यै नमः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये वागीशाद्या सुमनसः सर्वार्थानामुपक्रमे यं नत्वा कृतकृत्या स्युः तं नमामि गजाननम् वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वदी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि सद्गुरुं तं नमामि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्य केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं यस्य सन्निधिमात्रेण सर्वे शिष्याश्च सेवकाः कर्मक्षेत्रे प्रवर्तन्ते चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम् Let us do the Pratha Smaranam. Pratasmarami Hridi Samspuradaatmatattvam Satchitsukam Paramaham Sagatim Turiyam Yatsvapna Jagara Sushupta Mavaiti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nacha Bhuta Sangha Pratarbhajami Manasa Vachasamagамyam Vacho Vibhanti Nikila Yadanugrahena Yanneti Neti Vachanaihi Nigamavuchuhu Tam Deva Deva Majamachyuta Mahuravyam. Pratarnamami tamasah paramarkavarnam Purnam sanatana padam Purushotamakyam Yasminnidam jagadashesha Mashesha murtau Rajvam bhujangamayiva pratibhasitam vai Rajvam bhujangamayiva pratibhasitam vai. Welcome back, everybody. Last week, we started our text, ATMA BODHA. As I had mentioned, it belongs to the category of Prakarana Grantha. Let me try to see if I can share some slides. I want to share this introduction again as a recap because this particular text, in keeping with the tradition, Sampradaya, I gave an introduction to the author or the composer, Sri Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, last week. He gave us the doctrine, what we call in Advaita Vedanta as Shankara Siddhanta, which is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. He brought about that revival of Advaita Vedanta by re-establishing the truth revealed in the Upanishads called Jiva Brahma Aikya. The oneness of Jiva and Brahma. Then we went on to understand why we need to study Atma Bodha. In that, we discussed and analyzed as to why we are stuck in the cycle of samsara, a sorry go around, as I called it, due to our habitual tendencies called vasanas. Most of us are leading a life without any inquiry, purely led by our instincts of perception response. Having completed the study of texts like Bhaja Govindam as a group, now we know that I have developed enough subtle intellect, Sukshma Buddhi, to see the defects in the temporary enjoyments of the world, meaning now I am seeing the world with dosha drushti, defects of the world. And I have developed pratipaksha bhavana. We now know that the enjoyment of the world or any form of bhoga has what? Temporariness, impermanence, it drains our energy, it causes dependence, it is associated with pain, and at the end we know it is dissatisfaction guaranteed. Meaning, my viveka needs to be jagrat, alert. I am bestowed with enough vairagya. I am intelligently analyzing, inquiring, and searching for that defect-free sukham. I have begun my inquiry. Attending these classes are the first sign of that. What is the motivating factor behind things that I like to do? What is that I avoid doing things that I do not like doing? So I started to attend the satsanga. I hear that there is something called Brahman. That is Satyam, Gnanam, Anantam Brahma, Anandam Brahma, source of infinite happiness. Nirdosham hi samam Brahma, dosha rahita Atma, free from all the defects. Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata, Veda, Rahita Atma, free from all limitations. I know that I have to pursue this. What? The defect-free sukham. Or the choice is I have to settle down for defective sukham and suffer the consequences. The choice is very clear to me that I have to take this U-turn in life. We also analyzed that our human mind has three inherent problems. What are they? Impurities of the mind called mala, restlessness of the mind called vikshepa, ignorance of the self, or which is actually the root cause of the other two problems called avarana. Now Vedanta tells me that my own nature is Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. But because of these inherent defects and a strong R&D, as I called it, Raga Dvesha, not research and development, it is not allowing me to make that shift in life. So, the negativities of anger, jealousy, many more are mala or impurities of the mind. All these are barriers to our sadhana. Therefore, these impurities of the mind needs to be eliminated, number one. Then I also told you the upliftment comes only when we turn our action, karma, to karma yoga. Kartavya karmas, obligatory duties, must be done dedicated to the Lord. Arpita buddhi, dasya buddhi, and whatever comes in the form of the result as prasada buddhi. These three are very important factors. So what this means, to remove mala is to purify the mind, number one. Instead of egocentric, me, mine, my family, etc., and sometimes even eccentric, I turn that to ecocentric, and then I bring God into the equation in my life. All my actions become God-centric, towards Bhagavan, by Bhagavan, for Bhagavan, and nothing but Bhagavan. So help me, Bhagavan. This is the attitude. So all my kayika karma, vachika karma, manasika karma, all are God-centric. What is it doing? It is making my mind calmer, equipoised, stable. Remember that samachittatvam. Then I begin to address my vikshepa, my restlessness of the mind through japa or any upasana karma, dhyanam, etc. Now I know how to divinize my actions, how to divinize my emotions, and now I am ready for Atma Gnanam. This is a lifestyle of constant achara vichara. Life of good conduct coupled with inquiry. Now, avarana, which is my third problem, that root cause of my ignorance, which veils my true nature, which covers my true nature, which is real, and projects the unreal, in fact, which is the root cause of my all other problems of mala and vikshepa. I explained this in the last class, that AAA is my problem. Easy to remember. What is it? Advitiya Atma Agnanam. And because of that, due to adhyasa, the superimposition, leads to avidya, that leads to ahankara. And this can only be removed by Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Shravana removes the problem of, hey, I don't know what is Brahman. Reflection and Mananam removes, I do not understand all this. It removes that when you start to reflect on it. And then contemplation or dhyanam or meditation removes, I do not experience it. Now we know why we need to study texts like Atma Bodha. Now, we saw this text last time is a textbook of ideas, concepts, like a picture book. It has a total of 68 verses. I told you the uniqueness of this text is Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji give every idea an example. We call this Drishtanta in Vedanta, like a pointer. But do not stretch these examples. Don't think too much into it, just to give you that pointer. And I said there are 10 broad topics we will study. And with that, we started the invocation shloka. Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam. Let me see if I can share this slide. Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshoyam atma bodho vidhiyate. We covered this in the last class. Just to recap, this is an invocation shloka. We call it the Mangala Acharana, Mangala Charana shloka. Prayers are commonly done to the Ishta Devata or Bhagavan. What it does, it is an ego diminishing exercise which removes the kartrutva, that I am the doer. I also introduced you. We saw some examples from Tattva Bodha, Viveka Chudamani, how Mangala Charana is done. Like Vasudevendra Yogindram, Natva Pradam Gurum, Mumukshunam Hitarthaya, Tattva Bodho Vidiyate. This was in Tattva Bodha. And in Viveka Chudamani, I have also introduced that. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta, Gocharam Tama Gocharam, Govindam Paramanandam, Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. So instead of Kartru, I become the Karana, the instrument in the hands of the Lord. And I also introduce you to Anubandha Chatushtaya through this shloka. First one was in that fourfold consideration, preliminary consideration as to who needs to study. First was Adhikari, who is a fit student, Mumukshunam. The one who is desirous of moksha, not the one who wants to study differential equation or physics. The one who is intention is for, or desire is for moksha. He is the qualified student of this text. This is not to discourage others like us who are studying this text, but to encourage us to develop that qualification, sadhana chatushtaya of viveka, vairagya, shama, adi, shakka, sampatti, in addition to mumukshutvam. Remember those 4 Ds of Vedanta. Tapobihi kshina papanam, shantanam, vitaraginam. We have to look at ourselves in the mirror. In addition, we saw last week, tapobihi, the one who has performed austerities. Tapa. What kind of austerities? Japa, puja, worshipping of the Lord daily, observing vratas like fasting, maunam. I gave you 3 types of austerities that are outlined in 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Sharirika tapas, Vangmaya tapas, Manasika tapas, all this. Please refer to the previous lecture for details on that. Kshina papanam. In addition, he has developed a pure heart, less tendency to commit sinful actions. By performing what? Nitya Naimittika Karma, obligatory duties, occasional duties very efficiently. That is the tapas. And because of that, Shantanam, he is calm, he is composed, he is very well balanced, he is peaceful. Vitaraginam, he has developed a lot of vairagya. He is free from worldly cravings, no ragadvesha. Because that he is kshina papanam, with less sinful tendency, there is no mala or vikshepa in him. And what is the vishaya, the subject matter of this text? Atma Bodha. And what is the sambandha? The relationship between the teacher and the taught, the revealer and the revealed. Bodhya Bodhaka Sambandha. And what is the prayojana? Moksha Gnana, Atma Gnana, liberation. Atma Bodho Vidiyate, Atma Bodha, the knowledge of the self. Vidiyate, I am composing this text for those. So just to quickly summarize, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji is saying this text is meant for this student who has weakened his sinful tendencies through the austerities or tapa, who is calm, who is composed, who is equanimous, agitations are at a minimum, no worldly cravings, meaning what? He has rejected the defective sukham. Remember that introduction. He has rejected this temporary Sukham, who is sincere, who is working hard for liberation. With that much recap, we will begin with the first topic, which I told you is moksha sadhana. What is the sadhana? From shloka number 2 through 5, we are going to first chant those. Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi sakshat mokshaika sadhanam pakasya varnivat jnanam vina moksho na siddhyati. Together. Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi sakshan mokshaika sadhanam pakasya varnivadnanam vina moksho na siddhyati. Avirodhitaya karma. Maybe we will go through the explanation and then I will start to, oh, maybe I was not sharing. I'm sorry. That's okay. So, we will go through the explanation on this shloka. Because now we need to know, in the second verse, we have seen this shloka already before. When we studied Bhaja Govindam, in that 17th verse, Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam Vrata Paripalanam Athava Danam Jnana Vihinaha Sarvamatena Bhajatina Muktim Janmashatena. In that shloka, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says that Atma Bodha in this shloka, Bodhonya Sadhanebhyo hi, Atma Bodha is not one of the means to moksha, but it is the only means to moksha. Very powerful statement, which means mumukshus have no choice. Purusha Suktam says, Nanya Pantha Ayanaya Vidyate. There exists no other path. Bodha, this knowledge, compared to Anya Sadhanebhyaha, in comparison to other sadhanas, means Sakshat Moksha Eka Sadhanam, Mokshaika Sadhanam. Direct means, primary means, or the only means to liberation. How? Now comes the example. Pakasya vahnivat gnanam. Pakasya, for cooking, vahnivat, just as we need fire, which is the most important aspect of cooking. Gnanam vina mokshaha na siddhyati. Without this Atma Gnana, liberation is not accomplished. That is what Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji is saying here. Compared to all other forms of sadhanas, knowledge of the self is only direct means of liberation. Simply put, no fire, no cooking. That means, if fire is there, cooking will happen. Similarly, if knowledge is there, moksha will happen. No knowledge, no moksha. This is a methodology in Vedanta. It is called as Anvaya Vyatireka. Make a note of that. Method of presence and absence. If that is there, this will happen. So now the question is, if Atma Bodha is alone is the means for moksha, why are the scriptures talking or prescribing so many sadhanas? Scriptures are talking about japa, scriptures are talking about taking a pilgrimage, doing dhanam, doing puja. Are all these then vyartha sadhanas, invalid means to liberation? Bhagavan says no. See, in the example given for cooking, what do? We wash vegetables. We wash the vessel, scrub it nice and shiny. The stove is cleaned. Rice, spices are all added. But nothing happens with all those karma until it comes in contact with the fire. Is it not? So fire alone can accomplish cooking, and that is the direct means. I know at least one of you is thinking, oh, what about microwave? They are all the same part of Agni Tattva. Heat is transferred from one form to the other. All other sadhanas like dhanam, puja, japa are all called sahakari sadhana, aids to liberation. He reinforces this idea in Viveka Chudamani also. He says, Vadantu shastrani yajantu devan kurvantu karmani bhajantu devatah Atmaikya bodhena vinapi mukti na siddhyate brahma shatantarepi na siddhyati brahma shatantarepi. And in shloka number 11, he says, Chittasya shuddhaye karma natu vastu upalabdhaye. Karma is for purification of mind. All the sadhanas help us with what? In our spiritual growth, in our evolution. But by themselves or not directly will not lead to liberation. The attainment of knowledge. Many times we hear in Bhagavad Gita also, there are 4 paths prescribed. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Gnana Yoga. The way to understand it is, with karma, tamasic tendencies go away. Chitta Shuddhi happens. With Upasana, Rajasic tendencies go away. Chitta Ekagrata comes. With Raja Yoga, Vairagya comes, solitude comes. With Nischala Bhakti comes unconditional love for Bhagavan. So the sadhaka migrates from Tvampada Vichara to Tatpada Vichara to Gnanam, which is Aikya, Brahma Atma Aikya. So these sadhanas, they culminate in Gnana. Then the question comes, why is it not possible to get the liberation through karma? Why is it not possible through karma or action? Let's go to the next verse, number 3. Avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartayet vidya vidyam nihantyeva tejastimira sanghavat. So all the forms of sadhanas put together. What Shankaracharya ji is doing here is, he calls them as karma. all other sadhanas other than Gnanam, he puts all that in one bucket called karma. Kayaka karma, Vachika karma, Manasika karma, Ashtanga yoga, all of those, he says, karmas that cannot give moksha directly by itself. Because avirodhitaya karma na avidyam vinivartaye. Since karma and action, they are not opposed to each other, avidya or ignorance, na vinivartaye. It cannot destroy ignorance. Let us analyze this a little bit. What can karma accomplish? Typically, we say in Vedanta, there are 4 things it can accomplish. In the world, whatever may be your product, utpadyam, it can produce something, we can produce something, utpadyam, prapyam. If I can't produce, I can procure or buy something. Samskaryam, I can purify something or refine something into something else. Vikaryam, I can modify something to get something else. But Atma or Moksha Gnana, what we are talking about here, is rediscovering myself. It is already there. I've given this example just like Newton, a law of gravity. It was already there before Newton. Apple was falling before Newton. Only he questioned why did it come down, it didn't go up. So the Atma is already within us. It is ever present, all pervasive, complete, pure. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Atma. I don't have to produce it. I don't have to obtain it from somewhere else. I don't have to modify it. I don't have to purify it. Therefore, Vidya eva avidyam nihanti. Knowledge alone will destroy my ignorance. And now he gives an example. How? Tejas Timira Sanghavat. Let us say this room is filled with darkness. I decide I have a few people on my team. I will ask them to do karma, action. I will ask them to sweep away the darkness, throw it out of the room. Because that action is not opposed to darkness, nothing happens. You come in, you flip the switch, you flood the room with that light, that dispels the darkness in that room. Because only light is opposed to darkness. Swami Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, the cave may be dark for 1,000 years, but you strike a match, that instant the light comes, the darkness goes away. Same way, ignorance of the self, our ajnana, our avidya, can only be removed by that pure light of self-knowledge. Swayam Prakasha Atma. Self-luminous Atma. So this ajnana, this ignorance is a bhranti, brahma, because it's a notion. What it does, it creates all sorts of motion, emotion, commotions in our life. So let us see what we need to do and how to rediscover ourselves. Let's go to the next shloka. Parichinna iva gnanat tannashe sati kevalah swayam prakashate hyatma megha paye amshumaniva. Parichinna iva agnanat. Because of this notional ignorance or agnanam, this self appears to be parichinna, finite. Tannashe sati kevalaha. When the ignorance is destroyed, kevalaha, that which is absolute, that which is infinite, swayam prakashate. It reveals itself, it shines itself. You don't need another light. How? Now comes the example. Mega paye amshumaniva. Just like that Amshuman, Surya Bhagavan, sun reveals itself. Megha apaye. When the cloud, as though it was covering, clears and passes away, sun appears bright and shining. You don't need another light to see the sun. So here in this shloka, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji has expanded the nature of agnanam. Parichinna iva agnanam. Because of the notional ignorance of my true nature, I am forgetting that I am Purnam, but I feel limited. As I had told you before, in Vedanta, we describe three aspects of life. Jiva, the individual, Jagat, the world, and Ishvara, the creator. Vedanta told me, so what is this agnanam, bondage? Vedanta told me that I am Satchidananda Swarupa, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Atma. But I feel I am limited. I am finite. This is called parichinnatva. There are three types of limitations. We have already discussed this. One is due to space, desha paricheda, time, kala paricheda, objectal limitation or vastu paricheda. Parichinna or paricheda. In my present ignorant state, I feel, hey, I am limited by space. I am in Arizona. I am in Michigan, I am in Ohio, I am in the office, I am at home. I consider myself to be a speck in the big scheme of the universe. But Vedanta tells me that myself is all pervading, infinite, not conditioned by space. Then Kala Paricheda. I feel I have a beginning and an end. Adi and Ananta, I feel I am limited by time. But Vedanta tells me I am Nitya, eternal, I am unborn. But my experience has been contrary to that. I am born at a particular period of time. We celebrate my birthday. I have a lifespan of time. I will die at a future point of time. Then there is Vastu Paricheda. It includes objects. Vedanta teachers have analyzed many differences that we perceive in our mind, broadly as Sajatiya Veda, Vijatiya Veda, Svagata Veda. Visit all the basic Vedanta module series. I've explained all this. But our Atma is devoid of all these three limitations. Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Svagata, Veda, Rahita Atma. It is devoid of any limitation. But because of my ignorance, I experience the self as endowed with all sorts of limitations. This is called Jiva Bhava. a notion of that I am an individual being. What is the result of this mistaken notion of this unlimited self as limited individual ego? Because of that illusory entity, I give reality to the world of objects and beings. Then due to my R&D, raga dvesha, likes and dislikes that I superimpose on them, I start to become dependent on the external world for my happiness, for my comfort. I am fearful of sorrow, I am fearful of pain and loss. I go through an inner turmoil and restlessness and so on. This Vedanta calls it bandhana, bondage. It starts with this, then it gets strengthened by anatmani atma buddhi. The notion that this anatma is atma. It gets strengthened by jagati satyatva buddhi. The world, its objects are real, it is permanent. So in short, the story of all our lives with the identification of anatma, I become the doer, kartrutva, I become the enjoyer, bhoktrutva, then it gets deeper and deeper into this ocean of samsara. So Bhagavan Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, samsara is that dukkhalayam, ashashvatam. Because of what? All of this is due to this parichinnatvam. I feel a sense of apurnatvam, incompleteness. I am always trying to become somebody, searching something, all this externally. Because of that, there is dukkham. I am settling down for defective sukham, temporary sukham in life. But my goal is atyantika dukkha nivrutti paramananda prapti. See, I do not want unhappiness in my life. I want purnatvam, defect-free sukham. That is why I am pursuing this. To know atato brahma jignasaha. Say, even Brahma Sutra begins that my pursuit to know Brahman begins. So Acharya says, when we destroy this notional bondage, this sense of limitedness, this parichinnatva goes away. So that with this Atma Gnana, when that Agnana or that notional ignorance, Tannashe Sati Kevalaha, that alone which is Swayam Prakashate Atma, that Atma which is of the nature of Swayam Prakasha, self-luminous, reveals itself. How? Megha apaye amshuman iva. Sun shines brightly after the clouds that appear to be covering goes away. Can the clouds ever cover the sun? No. Same way, ignorance is the wrong notion that goes away with the right knowledge. Okay? With that, we will move into the fifth shloka that concludes this topic. Agnana kalusham jivam gnana bhyasat vinirmalam krutva gnanam swayam nashyet jalam katakarenuvat. Agnana kalusham jivam gnana bhyasat vinirmalam. By constant practice of this Atma Gnana, vinirmalam, it purifies my egocentric self. And then what happens? Vinirmalam krutva swayam nashyet. To explain this idea, subtle idea, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji has given another example. Jalam Kataka Renuvat. See, in the olden days, during the rainy season, they used to clean the wells, river water. When they became muddy, they would put this powder of this kataka nut on the surface of the water. As it became denser, it started to settle down and carried along with this dirt or muddy impurities to the bottom of the pond, bottom of the vessel. Now let us analyze this a little bit. See, we use the word vritti in Vedanta, meaning, let's say I need to know an object, like a pen. An image of a pen comes to my mind, is it not? That is why we call it vritti gnanam, vritti karaka. So in Vedanta, common examples like ghatakara vritti, knowledge of the part, patakara vritti, etc., are used all as Vishaya Gnanam, knowledge of the objects. So these non-Vedantic thoughts, so Gnana Abhyasa is, I start to give Vedantic thoughts to my mind, like Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Brahman. So over a period of time, it starts to seep in, replaces all of the non-Vedantic thoughts with a Vedantic thought. This is meditation. Through the Gnana Abhyasa, we do this. Constant Abhyasa. Constant practice, contemplation. Then a Purva Pakshi. Purva Pakshi means the one with an opposing point of view. He asks, what happens to that Gnana Vritti, Bhagavan? Vinirmalam Krutva Swayam Nashye. How once the mirror is destroyed, the reflection is also gone with it. So in this shloka, he has given the example of the kataka nut or alum powder. It removes the impurity and it also dissolves in the process. See, in the automotive example, I can give you, think of one thing called active noise cancellation. In order to eliminate a squeak and rattle, we induce an active noise. Or another even common example would be, let's say in a room full of children, they are making noise and the teacher comes, he shouts, quiet, everybody. On top of that noise, over that noise, making a loud noise, like that. And both stop, silence occurs. So in meditation also, you give the mind enough thoughts that it clears all other anatma vishaya chintanam. Non-Vedantic thought also dissolves. Then what remains? Only the consciousness remains. In Bhagavatam, there is an example. Let's say a thorn is stuck in your foot. What do we do commonly? You take another sharp needle or an instrument, you remove the thorn and you throw away the needle. One more example our Puja Gurudev used to give, pole vaulter. He uses a long pole to cross over, drops the pole on this side and crosses on the other side. So in the next topic, we will discuss what we call it as the nature of the world or nature of samsara. Shlokas number 6 through 11 is our next topic. We will chant this today and we will do a 3-minute, since it is Mahashivaratri, I would like all of us to do at least a few minutes of Om Namah Shivaya. Let's chant this next set of 6 verses that we are going to cover. Then we will visit next week. Please stay back for Q&A. A lot of you are dropping off right there. That is where you will benefit the most. Samsara swapna tulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulaha swakale satyavat bhati prabodhe satya sadbhave tavat satyam jagat bhati shuktika rajatam yatha Yavanna Brahma Sarvadhishthanamadvayam Upadane Akhiladare Jaganti Parameshware Sargastiti Layan Yanti Budbudani Vavarini Satchidatmanyanusyute Nitye Vishnu Prakalpitah Vyaktayo Vividas Sarva Atake Katakadivat Yatakasho Rishikeshah Nano Padigato Vibuhu Tadvedad Vinnavad Bhati Tanna Shekevalo Bhavet Nanopadi Deva Jati Varnashramadayah Atmanyaropitastoye Rasavarnadi Sankula. This is all the shloka about nature of samsara. So, because of Mahashivratri, I would like all of us to do a little bit of Om Namah Shivaya. Okay, and I will start that process now. Please sit up straight.
Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. May all be healthy, may all be happy, may all see auspiciousness Shiva stands for that auspiciousness. Om, peace, peace, peace. Thank you, everyone. And with that, I will open it up for